Awesome. Well, on that note, welcome everybody to A Little Perspective. My name is Pranav, and I'm joined with my bro Nikhil over here. And today we have a very special guest for you guys. I'm pretty sure everybody on our podcast already knows her. We have Paul Agarwal. How's it going, Paul?
Good. Very awesome. So excited to be here, and finally it's happening. So excited.
No, trust me, like, we are excited to have you on this podcast. Like, knowing you for I don't know how many years.
I think three.
yeah.
I mean, ever since I've been here.
2022
right?
for sure.
2022, right?
June,
and
yeah.
like, how much you've grown in those years, how many networks that you've made, how many things that you've done. That's really commendable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trust
Thank
me,
you.
I don't think even Nikhil and I are close to that mark.
Even combined.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No,
exactly.
don't say
But-
that.
But yeah, so Paul, we start off our podcast by
Mm-hmm.
the guests giving an introduction about themselves,
Uh-huh.
and they will just go forward from there.
Awesome. So about me, I honestly don't know how exactly I should introduce myself because of the vastness of how I define.
Show
but
off.
just
Yeah,
to,
daunting at this point.
but just a short snippet of who I am. Well, primarily, I'm a finance and economics student at University of Regina, mainly in the Hill School of Business. So when we talk about Hill, have done a bunch of things at Hill. My biggest one right now is I'm a co-president at Enactus Regina, which is an entrepreneurial club for the good, and the only entrepreneurial club at UFR actually. And apart from that, I'm a part of Hill JDC West. I have done You Are Investing in the past. Apart from that, in the community, Josh likes to call it I'm the co-founder, but okay, I've helped out with the Good Morning Project when it started out this June in 2025, and I'm also a board member at SIPE. I like to say that I'm a person who's very curious. I like to do multiple things. I like to juggle a lot, but I'm not so good at juggling. But yeah, I like to put myself in different rooms. So if you are there and if you see me, know that it's the right room.
So, you
That's
gave us
awesome.
like a huge list of things that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And getting time for all those things is not easy, right? So, just out of curiosity, what makes you strive to be part of so many things?
No, that's a great question, and something that everyone asks me is how do you manage to do all of that at once? And my answer to that is I don't. Nobody will believe me, but I just wing it. You just show up. I always believe in one thing is that you have to show up all the time. There is no break for someone. You never have an excuse. Yes, things come up, life happens, but other than that, what keeps me going and what actually drives that is just showing up every day. And what has helped me set up that system is a very rigorous calendar and a very rigorous schedule. I have everything on my calendar. So if you open it up right now, you will see everything that my life has. There was a point where I took it so far that I even had drink water there, because there was a time where I was forgetting to even drink water. And that's when I realized that I need to maybe have some flexibility and have some flex time. But calendar and having a very prioritized sort of system helps me do multiple things at once.
Right. And Paul, first of all, since you mentioned you are quite busy, thank you so much for making time for us as well.
No, of course.
Right. And the reason that we also wanted to have you on the podcast is I think you're an inspiration, especially for people our age. And you gotta trust me, you can tell oh no, but no, you genuinely are, because we mentioned at the start as well, we weren't that involved as much as you are, and how much you've grown in the past 3 years. That's generally something that a lot of people can people watching on this link can take inspiration from. So why don't we rewind back 3 years? You came to Canada. Now let's say let's start from the start. Why Canada? And then we'll start going from there.
That's a very funny story. So I have come from a very high achiever, highly academic family. So I've always wanted to go to the best of the best. So going back, when I started out, I just finished my science in class 12. So I am a PCM student. So physics, chemistry, maths, English, computer science, and economics. And I wanted to actually pursue economics further on. And the best place to go for economics in India is Delhi. I had dreamt for Delhi for the past 3 years, when I was 15 is when I actually started thinking about Delhi.
15?
When I was 15, yes.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
But with the reputation of Delhi being not so safe, my parents were very skeptical. So it took me 3 years to convince them to actually be comfortable sending me to Delhi. How I came to Canada was essentially like the same motive, same drive, as I wanted to do the best of the best, something that nobody has done before. So I actually went to Xavier's after my class 12. Then I actually went to Gargi in Delhi. And then what happened, while I was doing all that, simultaneously, I was also thinking of studying abroad. I actually wanted to go to the States, and I wanted to actually study in a very big school and everything. But what actually made me realize that I want to come to Canada essentially is the financial constraints. So with my family, I had to keep in mind that like you have to be realistic and grounded, right? And that's when I chose Canada because, again, good education, good policies, moving abroad much easier. And how I chose Regina was simply because I wanted to, in my initial years of life, I wanted to be a big fish in a small pond. And at the same time, I wanted to financially sustain myself. So with the news and everything, I've always like heard people saying that they are living paycheck to paycheck and everything. And that is something I wanted to break. So I thought instead of living at the start of my life in a very big city and trying all the new things and living that life, I thought why not start my life abroad in a much more grounded, community based, like everyone knows each other sort of a place. And that's why I chose Regina. So that was one. Second was again that big fish small pond, and the financially sustainable point as well, because Regina is the most affordable city right now. Like Saskatchewan itself is a very affordable place in Canada. So I had to keep in mind that I only had 1 year of fee that my parents paid for and the GIC that was covered. And after that was everything that I have taken care of myself.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
As an international student, you know, right? Like it's very expensive. Fees is expensive, and I was also taking care of my rent and everything. At the same time, keeping in my mind that I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. So Regina was a place I could do all of that, and that's why I chose Canada and specifically Regina.
Right.
You know, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
You know, it's funny you mentioned how you wanted to be a big fish in a small pond and how Regina actually came to be. It's funny because, you know, if you go to a big city, right? And we give this example like everybody that if we were in Vancouver or in Toronto, we reach out to a big leader or a CEO of a company, they don't have the time to talk to you. They're busy in their lives. But Regina, being a small community where everybody's connected to each other, everybody, you know, you can go north to south in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of being in Regina, right? You're so close to leaders. You're so close to people who are making an impact.
Yeah.
And it goes same to like companies, right? If you work for a huge company, right, multinational company, you're not in connect with the leaders of that company, right?
It's probably not even the same country. Like the head office is probably somewhere else.
Right? You're not you're not going to learn anything from them. But if you work for a smaller company, like I would say like the company that I work for, I'm really grateful that I work for a small company. Like the person who owns that company, I talk to them every day. Like that's a really good learning opportunity.
Yeah, that is also true. And at the same time, I think I should like correct myself and re-emphasize, I don't want to call Regina small, but maybe I should call it's the right city for the right things.
Right.
So it's right for what it is, and it's right for the size, and it's right for the people. It's not too big, it's not too small, but
so it's like a Goldilocks city.
It's just it's just right. It's like it fits the people, it fits the community, it just fits. So
Paul, guide us through this process because, you know, again, a lot of international students have this dream of, you know, not living paycheck to paycheck, not taking money from their parents. And you have achieved all those dreams. How did you do it? Like, what were the steps that you took that I guess people aren't taking right now or they should be taking, you know? What would you tell them?
I think, so one thing when I say about like living paycheck to paycheck and not asking my parents for money, that is like something I just take pride in, that, okay, I don't want to ask my parents for money, but if I want to, I can always
go to them.
It's good to have a backup for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Of course.
It's not that I can't at all. It's just I don't want to. And sometimes there are situations that people just can't, given where they come from, and sometimes just life happens, right? So talking about the steps, I think what I would recommend and what I did was I just used to go at everything that Regina had to offer. So starting from as a university student, you have so many events. Like being a business student, I think you have that, like you're not in a business school if you're not attending networking events.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's one. Second is I used to show up at all the events that UofR in general had put up. And I used to not just show up, but I used to like be actually prepared to be there. So I used to see who all are coming, when is it, where is it, and always showing up, doing my research and homework. So let's say there was a speaker at a session or a speaker at an event. I used to look them up before they're actually at the event. So I used to attend those events, ask questions at the event, because it's always like nobody's going to remember after that event gets done. How do you stand out there?
Right.
Is you ask questions, you stay curious. And after every event, I used to go and thank the people who organized the event, saying that, hey, I love this event. Or if I do, which I usually do. So I used to always go and talk to the organizers of the event. I used to talk to the speaker of the event, and always connect with them after, like, hey, I loved what you spoke on. Can we grab a coffee sometime? I am a first year student. I would love to know what you're doing. And with me, it was not that I used to do it for the sake of it. It was just like I was curious. I just wanted to know the
Right.
journey. I wanted to actually try to understand their story. That was one. So showing up prepared, doing research, and at the same time, just it's a numbers game. So I used to put myself out there to as many rooms
Right.
as possible so that I could find that right one. So showing up prepared and having those constant conversations actually led me to future job opportunities, future other opportunities like Enactus, JDC West, You Are Investing. I also co-founded the Rotaract Club, which is a university level of a Rotary clubs. A Rotary Club is an international charity organization all over the globe, and Rotaract is the university level of those organizations. So I co-founded that with my friend Julchit. So just identifying gaps through these conversations happening constantly is
Right.
where I got where I am. So showing up prepared, finding the right people, and at the same time not just leaving them to it, but I used to do a lot of follow-ups. I still do. I'm still connected to all the mentors I met in my first year. And the second, and probably like the other thing that really helped me get where I am probably today is I not only just talk to people and connect with them directly, but let's say I am talking to you, Pranav, and if I see that, oh, let's say you're someone in finance, you're someone I have a finance mentor for you. Would you like to be connected to them? So not only doing direct relationships and direct connections, I have done so many warm intros and other introductions, which actually I learned from Hannah Tate.
Shout out to Hannah Tate.
And like I met her back in 2022 through AgTech when she was presenting and pitching at the Cultivator event. I was super inspired by her, and I just connected with her on LinkedIn. And today we are such close friends that we talk about anything and everything.
That's awesome.
See each other so often, right? And like I like to call her as a very good friend here. So making those warm introductions led me to these opportunities, like finding jobs, finding part-time opportunities, like finding clubs to lead, be a member, co-found some of them. So, yeah.
It's awesome. First of all, like, kudos to you that you did that. Not a lot of people reach out to leaders and, follow up, come prepared to a meeting.
Yeah.
People don't even care, right? You just like, oh, whoever the speaker is. But yeah, kudos to you, follow up on that.
Yeah.
Talking to so many people, and especially like leaders in this community, following up with them, having coffee chats. What is one thing that you've learned about them that is like common among all the leaders?
I think empathy. We always see leaders as someone who are cold-hearted or someone who are not reachable, but having these coffee chats actually made me learn that they are just another human. just another individual who want to be treated like a human. And that is something like even Josh, Stuart Van Dusen, shout out Josh, he keeps telling me that like these executives, these CEOs, these leaders are just another human, and when they are in a room, sometimes they want to be treated like one. And that is something I have learned from these coffee chats, is just asking good questions and questions that make them human. And a common theme and a commonality among all leaders is just they have a lot of empathy. They have a lot of empathy for the people they meet, for the causes that they support, for the work that they do. And empathy is a first step to any problem you solve. So taking back to, let's say, I did design. I was a part of the design thinking team here at FCC. So when you do design thinking, the first step you do is empathy. So you actually need to understand the problem and empathize with them instead of sympathize or any other feelings. So when you actually exercise empathy is when you can actually relate to the consumer or the problem solver, and that is how you actually get to the root of the problem. And that is what I found across all leaders, is that they truly empathize with the problem, and that is why they're able to solve multiple problems at the same time.
Right. And you mentioned that putting yourself out there, doing all your research and everything, like doing your homework, it makes the whole job easy. But there are still people out there, and again, like, there's no hate to them, like it's a fear of putting yourself out there, right? It's a fear of going up and talking to new people.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a first year student, you're an international student, you don't know anybody in the city, and you're making that consistent effort. How do you get over that fear? Because I think that's what holds a lot of people back, is like, would I even use as an icebreaker? Or like, are they going to judge me? Am I going to look like a clown? Am I asking the right questions? I feel like you start getting in your head a lot. So how do you get over that and give us advice too over that?
I think getting over the fear is first thing that really should drive everyone. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Oof.
So
Michael Scott.
So you either get a yes or nobody cares. But what actually can help you get over that fear is, let's say you're in a room talking to people or you're speaking up at an event, nobody is going to remember what you said 5 seconds after you finish talking. So instead of being stupid in your head and feeling stupid, why don't you just speak it out? Because nobody's going to remember it either way. Right? And getting over that fear also just starts from getting uncomfortable a lot. And I think everyone talks about that, you need to be uncomfortable, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, but just try it out.
Did you have fear? Like, were you scared at first?
So actually no, simply because where I come from with my parents and how I've been brought up is actually I've been doing networking since the age of 8.
Oh, wow.
What happens at 8? What kind of networking?
Okay, I'll tell you. I'm not doing handshakes like, hello, uncle, nice to meet you. No. It's because my parents have been a part of very different organizations early on with their business, and a lot of other charity organizations as well. So my parents used to take me to all events, whether they are speaking, organizing, or just attending. So I used to be an observer, and my mom used to put me at spot all the time. Like, go Pearl, introduce yourself. So I have been learning how to introduce myself at the age of like 9.
Damn.
Like, hello uncle, I can dance. and you know that having that Indian parents, they are like, okay, show us how you can dance. So constantly having that performance mindset. Like, okay, you're out there not just like attending, but you're actually performing in some way.
Yeah, you're selling
Oh,
yourself.
you gotta be talented to perform too. Like, you're talented. We didn't have anything to perform.
I don't dance, but I used to paint and I used to play the piano. So whenever we used to have guests over, so my mom used to be like, okay, chalo beta, go play something.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm playing Twinkle Twinkle to people aged 60 and they are like clapping. So I'm used to being surrounded by that very early on. So that's why I don't have that innate fear of speaking up, because my parents have like instilled in me that like, you have to do it, because how else would you be able to get your point across? How else will you be able to speak up in certain situations? But if you haven't had that chance, you can still do it. It's never too late to learn to overcome that fear. It's just like, remember that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that applies to everything. Applying jobs, applying for scholarships.
Right.
Like, if let's say I take it to scholarships, there's so many students and people I know who do not want to apply for scholarships because they have been rejected the first few times. Same
Right.
with jobs. But I'm like, what's the harm? What's the hurt? The worst is you won't get it, but the best is you will get it. So imagine putting in a little bit of hours in, and you can actually get something out of it. That fear expands to so many things. So all you have to do is give yourself enough chance. Start with something small, right? If you're someone who's fear of public speaking, start with something very, very tiny. Start with a podcast, like attend a podcast. Second, maybe go to a Toastmasters session. They have so many Toastmasters.
He's part of one.
That's right. I'm
Yeah.
also a Toastmaster.
Oh, are you?
So there's so many Toastmaster speaking clubs all across
Right.
Regina. If you are a university student, you can go to UR Toastmasters. You can actually, there's the whole systemized structure of public speaking that actually helps you get out of the fear. And then start expanding to other areas. If you're a student, if you are a young professional, start speaking up in meeting rooms, start speaking up in classrooms, raise your hand, ask a question. And that is how you eventually start getting out of that fear. But it's like there's a big playbook that I can write it out.
Right. You know, you mentioned how you were raised in a way where networking was part of
The life.
the life,
Huh.
right?
Yeah.
And this is something that I've noticed about, like, you know, like you come from Calcutta, right?
Yeah.
And this is something I've noticed about people from Calcutta. They focus a lot on co-curricular.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Right,
It's,
like-
it's a part of the culture.
It's part of the culture,
Yeah.
right? And everybody that I've met, they play piano, they do music, they do
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Uh-huh.
Like from our city, like we only focus on academics,
Yeah.
right? So do you
Which
think
we
that?
were bad at as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Too bad, guys.
Oh, you're not good
No,
at
no, just
academics?
kidding.
But-
Yeah.
Anyways,
Mhm.
so do you think that culture in Calcutta,
Mhm.
like that helps you shape as a person, helps you shape your personality?
Mhm. Definitely, Calcutta has such a big part to play in my life in general. Like I still say Calcutta, whereas I should be saying Kolkata, but Calcutta definitely has. When you talked about that piano and everything, all the people I've grown up with, and just around the culture of Calcutta, everyone is supposed to be good in both academics and co-curriculars.
That's awesome.
So any other person you might meet from Calcutta, you might either learn that they are either good in singing, dancing, or an
Right.
instrument. I was
Right.
terrible in singing and dancing. If you actually hear me singing, you might just leave the room or have blood coming out of it. So I never that's why I hate going to karaoke, because I can't sing. I genuinely can't
Drunk
sing.
karaoke
Yeah.
is fun though.
Drunk karaoke is fun. Second, that's why I chose an instrument. I wanted to play the guitar, but my mother said that no, you should choose
man's a
something
guitar player.
something more easier, or like something more nicer. Also, my hand-eye coordination is terrible. So my mom told that learn piano, maybe you'll get better at it. I still suck.
So did you learn the full piano or the keyboard?
So I started from like synthesizer.
Right.
Yes, that's what I learned.
Right.
But if you can play it on the synthesizer, you can also like play it on
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
grand piano as
Oh, wow.
well.
Okay.
But over the time, it has been a lot of years where I haven't like learned it yet, because the last I played was probably in 2018 or 2019, because then I got in grade 11 and I was
Right.
studying science.
Right.
So it was like I had to put all my time in science and
Right.
math. You know how heavy it is.
Oh, yeah.
Especially
in
back
India.
home, 100%.
Yeah, especially 11, 12. That's
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get serious.
Yeah, so that's when I just gave up drawing. I gave up keyboard, which I regret. Like I shouldn't have given up.
But have you tried like the piano at the
I was
U of
gonna
R?
say.
Yeah,
I-
'cause, like,
I
like,
have tried
if
it
you- It's like muscle memory, right? Like
Yes.
you probably know something.
Yes, if you give me the notes, I can start playing for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what's the coolest thing about people who play the piano? Like they can look at the notes and they can play it. You know, it's like you can read the notes.
Yeah, you
That's
can.
so cool.
Yeah. Because like that's how you're taught, right? When you're taught how to play the piano, it's like you learn how to
All good.
you actually learn how to play that with the noise, with the tune, with the rhythm. You have to catch on the rhythm. You also listen to the actual song and you
Right.
try to map it as well. So going back to your question about like Calcutta playing a part, definitely like that culture of high performance, definitely has pushed me to excel, constantly like be out there, is because that was the nature of where I grew up.
Right. Awesome. So Paul, I want to ask you about, like you mentioned when we were talking about, like how to be more curious and like be more human with all the people. One thing that Nikhil and I have noticed that, and like we were talking to another potential guest for the podcast, and even he mentioned, like he was legit like shaking his head, face palming, that usually that when students or like people who want to come talk to you, it's very transactional. Like they're there to like either get a job, or get your business card, or like it seems very superficial, right? Just because the person that you're talking to carries a big label next to their name, I should go talk to them and like probably get a job out of it, right? How do you make sure that the conversations you have are human? Like guide us through a coffee chat. Imagine like you're on a coffee chat with us, because a lot of students don't realize, like even if they have the right intentions, they still come off like they're just it's a transactional thing, right? Like how would you like guide us through like a coffee chat, that how you do it?
I think, unfortunately, I don't think I can teach having genuine conversations. If you're truly genuine, it will come out. But if you are someone who is actually genuine but can't translate into having that conversation, it's just ask questions that not always has related to work. Like how do you read any books? Are you working on something cool right now? I think having a coffee chat doesn't always mean that, like I'm preparing for the next job. How should I edit my resume or write my cover letter? It's about actually truly understanding if you look up to the person and see that, this is someone who I want to be. And that has nothing or almost not everything to do with what they do for work. It's about their personality. It's about what makes them curious. Like coffee chats can involve or revolve conversations around what do you find interesting in the news these days? I heard about this going on in Regina right now. How do you feel about that? Like I was thinking through this process and wondered what happened. Another conversations could just be like talk also about yourself. Like, hey, this is something I am working on. Do you have any feedback for me? And also like showcasing that you're grateful for them to take out that time for you to come and meet. So conversations do not always have to be revolving around how did they get their job, it also needs to complement some of their personal life as well, I guess. That's how you might have. I could write a playbook on having genuine conversations, but unfortunately it's like you can't teach having genuine conversations. If you want to have it, you will have it.
Right. It's like sort of black and white, right? You either are genuine or you're not, right?
You can fake it till you make it, but you can tell.
I think that catches up to you sometimes, because like also the people that you're talking to, they've probably been in the industry for like decades, right? Like at least minimum 10 years. So it's hard to fool people who have hired people, have fired people, have had subordinates, have been leaders, report to leaders. So they already know like how that stuff works, right? And you have such a positive energy, like you have such a positive mindset. You're a very jolly person. But I also want to talk about the other side of it. What's been the most difficult part in these 3 years that you've been here, whether that be in a personal life or like something that you faced that like that people don't know about you?
Challenges, there's lots. Like I think so I am someone who loves winning. I think I'm addicted to winning and I love winning. I've lost a lot of times simply when I haven't got the desired response from the person or didn't get the desired job I had applied for. But challenges and difficulties would probably go back in probably 2023 when my best friend Yug left for Regina and moved to Toronto, and that's when I realized, I don't have friends anymore. I guess that fear of being alone had kicked in at that time, because I was still not yet comfortable with being with myself. Right? So that was one of the, it might seem like, this is just a friend who moved away, right? But for me, that person was someone who actually made my transition from India to Canada so much easier. Like he was that angel in disguise kind of like a person, right?
Right.
So him moving away was a big challenge, a big difficulty to like get through things and be like, okay, it's fine, like you still have friends, and you need to get used to people moving away. And it felt like so personal to me, but it was like I was happy for that person, right? But making that peace with letting people go, I think that was a big one. Like even when my roommate Janvi left, I think that was also difficult for me to like deal with. So I think that was like a big challenge as well. I think personal challenges is something I don't talk about enough because don't need to. But yeah, having and seeing people leave, people go, I think that just takes a big setback.
And how are you right now? Because what we're talking about happened 2-ish years ago, right? Have you evolved that way? Because, you know, like, people have left, but a lot more people have come into your life now. And, you know, well, I hope that doesn't happen, but, you know, there might be a chance where they get a better opportunity and they might leave as well, right? Or you might have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So have you made peace yet, or are you still struggling with that? Like, what stage of life are you at?
I think I have definitely made peace with people moving on and people finding the right places to be in, because if you think about it, that is something that I also did, right? I've left India. If my parents hold on to that thought, like that would lead to nowhere. And I'm someone who hates giving negative energy, negative emotions, or expressing that to somebody I love. So I just made peace and like constantly reinforcing that this is for their good, this is for their advancement in life. It has nothing to do with me. So definitely made peace with it. I'm so much more comfortable. In fact, I tell people like, yeah, of course if you see this opportunity, you should definitely take it. Don't worry about leaving people or something. It's a part of life. When you want something extraordinary, you have to sacrifice extraordinarily. So that's totally fine. So I'm totally made peace with it.
Right.
I'm so cool now.
Nice. That's awesome.
But that doesn't
with a smiling face.
But that doesn't, I mean, I say it with sarcasm, but it's not like I don't value the presence of people in my life, right?
Of course
like
not.
it's just I value people's presence no matter what, even if they are here physically or beyond or like somewhere else. It's the bond that matters. Even today I'm still close friends with Yog. We still talk. So it doesn't matter. It still feels like he's here. He's not, but it still feels like he's here.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
I can still reach out to him if I still do, like if I am having a tough day or if I'm breaking down. Even today when I need to make an important decision, I somehow end up consulting him. Like, hey, like
cool.
I'm planning this, like what do you think? So he's someone who gives me like the most unbiased thought, unbiased feedback, right? So still there.
So, you know, you mentioned how you left Kolkata, you came here, you know, that's a whole different story, right? You spend so much time with your parents, you spend your whole life with your parents, and then making that decision to move away from them to another country. Do you miss your parents?
I used to miss them a little bit, but not really, because both my parents have been working parents, and I've not really spent a lot of time with them as much as like people who might have spent because maybe one of their parents was staying with them or something like that. Since both of my parents have always been very busy, working parents, working almost 6 to 7 days a week, I'm just like used to not having parents around.
Right.
So I haven't had that much homesickness yet with my parents, but definitely I do like miss the whole comfort of having and that presence of having parents, because like in India it's so convenient, right? Like if I need something, I can just be like, oh Papa, I need to go here, and be like, chalo, we'll go now, we'll take out the car and we'll just like go and get it. Here I have to like look at the bus, I have to schedule it, and if I don't feel so entitled here to ask like that, because maybe my father's not here, my mother is not here, so it's like having that presence, definitely, yeah, I do miss it sometimes.
And have they visited you here, or have
not
you went
yet
back?
They are planning maybe sometime next year, because I'm graduating next year.
Oh, that's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have
so
you
they're
been
definitely-
back to India?
Just once, yes. Just
When?
once. I went in 2023 December.
How was that
Oh,
for you?
I was there in India during that time too.
Oh, it was so good. It was very short. Like I went for 2.5 weeks on that winter break.
Mhm.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was very short.
It is pretty short.
Yeah.
Ooh.
but definitely worth spending a lot more time. Like the next time I want to go to India, I want to spend a much longer time, not because like parents are there and everything, but
Yeah.
just because I don't think I have traveled much in India, right? I
Mhm.
moved here when I was like 19,
Mhm.
so
Right.
definitely want to like travel around. I also want to visit my grandparents in Nepal, so
Oh, your grandparents from Nepal.
Yeah, it was
Your
my
dad's side, your mom's side.
mom's side. So my mom was born and brought up in Nepal, and then she had to move to India because she got married to my dad.
So, what's your like home environment? Do you guys speak Nepali or do you guys speak Bengali?
So my home environment is so funny. So we speak 75. I mean, we speak Hindi and English at home, and if there are guests around that we don't want to tell them anything, we speak in Bengali usually.
Okay.
So yeah, but majority of the time we just speak in Hindi and English. Nepali is like not my mom's mother tongue, because my mom is still Indian. They just like immigrated to Nepal.
Oh, I see.
Huh.
Oh, interesting.
So like, but very big influence of Nepal in there. So that's why I connect with Srijit as well, because
Yeah, I was
He's
gonna say.
Nepali.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ramruja. So, I want to ask you this, and like, this is like the golden question
Haha.
of our podcast, right? So, there's this guy we follow, his name Simon Sinek,
Haha.
and he says that if you really want to know somebody, don't ask them what they do, ask them
Why.
why they do what they do. I want to ask you this, Paul. You're involved in so many groups, communities, you're making such a big impact, you're such an inspiration for us.
Come on.
Why do you do what you do?
That's $1 million question. I think what I do, why I do what I do, has a lot of different pillars. But if I had to like summarize it for you, the first one that comes to my mind is what drives me forward is I want to pay it forward. So over this 23 years of life, I've had so many people around me helping me becoming the better version of myself, be it mentors, be it coaches, be it judges, anyone. And the reason why I volunteer so much, the reason why I show up, is because someone showed up for me. And I'm not doing this because I want to pay that person back, but I want to pay it forward. Like, let me show up for the next person, so that it keeps on having a ripple effect. The other thing that probably why I do what I do is continuous improvement, continuous growth. I like to be uncomfortable. At least in my in my 20s, I do want to like try different things just to find the right thing, or even if not, just learn something out of it. I believe you either learn or you win. You never lose. You either learn or you win. And doing multiple things, why I do is just to become the better version of myself. Like I'm talking professionally and academically. Why I have done multiple jobs, why I have done multiple versions of these jobs, is just to become a much, like, the Paul yesterday and the Paul today has to be better than the Paul yesterday. And I think either of you have talked about that 1% improvement
every
like
day.
versus like overall, that's so much better, right? That's why showing up to different events, often networking, not networking, I call it building relationships, finding the right things to lead, finding the right problems to solve. That's how you become the better version of yourself, and that's why I do what I do.
That's awesome. So, Paul, let's expand on that specific portion you mentioned. Like, Paul yesterday has to be better than Paul today. So, the Paul who came in 2022, packed all of her things, her entire life, in a couple suitcases, is standing at the Canadian airport. And now, in 2025, is our guest at our podcast. Let's do a quick reflection point. How have you changed in these 3 years? And how have you become better from that version of 2022?
So I think in 2022, I wasn't shy, but I was like a little like, I don't know how to put a word to it, but I was a little
Secluded?
not secluded, not yet blossomed, I guess. Like not yet polished enough. No, but I don't want to use the word blossom, but like not yet polished enough, But today I can say that even though I am not yet graduated or close to graduation, I can say that I'm polished, very professional. I know what I'm talking about, and if I don't know something that I'm talking about, I'll just say it. Earlier, I think I used to fear not knowing something. Now it's more like, okay, this is something I don't know about. Maybe I should know about it. Being more open with what I don't know. So if we do a quick reflection of how things have changed or how I might have like improved, definitely a personal growth factor is there of since I've constantly put myself in an uncomfortable situation, you take feedback, right? I am also someone who loves taking feedback just from myself, like, hey, okay, this situation happened, how could I have handled it differently? So taking constant feedback has really helped me become better. And also, like, now I have like a personal sounding board with my partner Shivam. Like, I love sharing so many, like, all the good and the bad. It's like having that, I'm like, okay, now Shivam, don't tell me as my partner, but tell me as a third person, like, what do you think about this, like, since I did this? So I have like a personal sounding board as well now that really reinforces what's good, what's working, what's not working, and like thinking through things better.
How's the relationship been for you? Like, has that changed you as well, or like how's it being in a relationship?
Definitely changed me. Like, I think before I met him,
How long has it been, by the way?
It's close to 1 year now.
Hey, look
Oh,
at
there
that.
you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely relationship has had a very big impact just with, I feel like I'm more human now. I think earlier I was like 24/7 magic in the air. Always like working, doing something. Like, all my time used to just go on academics or finding the next best thing I need to focus on, or like focusing on what I'm doing right now. But with relationship, I have like learned to understand living life as well. Like, I still don't prioritize health as much as I should. Sorry, Shivam. But like, that is something I definitely have to or have learned the value and importance of being healthy, because I can see it, how being healthy has so many good, like, it does you so well, serves you so right, and that is something I have not yet fully prioritized, but getting there. So having that relationship has definitely added that a different side or definition of happiness, and like different definition of success as well for me. So
Right. Then this is an extension to what Pranav had asked you before, that how you reflected in the past 3 years and you hadn't blossomed yet, and now you're, I know you don't like to use the word blossom, polished.
Polished.
You wasn't polished enough, and now you're polished. What advice would you give to that 3-year back Pal who just came into Canada? What would you say to her?
I think to my 19-year-old self, I would just say that keep doing what you're doing. Don't be scared. I think I was a little scared starting out with showing up, because I used to feel that, to be at a certain place, you need to match a certain persona. Like, certain groups or certain places have only a certain kind of people. Like, if you need to be at a fun event, you have to be someone you're fun. But no, you need to just show up as your genuine self. So I think I would just advise my 19-year-old self to like just keep doing what you're doing. Don't be scared and continue being yourself. I think I am myself, and that has what served me so far, has helped me become polished, and on my way to become more polished and more professional is just keep being myself is what I would advise.
So, Paul, going from like someone who's building relationships, and I don't want to use this word, but I think it's the most appropriate just to like get my point across, is like people take different roles. You're either a follower first and then you become a leader. So when you were in the follower role, when you were building relationships and getting as many connections as possible, joining clubs, and now you've become a leader. Like how Josh says that you co-founded this Good Morning Project. I'm gonna call you a co-founder. You can
Okay,
what's it called?
that's
Argue
all
whatever
right.
you want. I'm gonna call you a co-founder. You lead and act as. You've started so many clubs and groups, right? How has a leader been for you? Like, what's the definition of leader in terms of Paul?
I have a very servant leadership style. So for me, being a leader involves empowering others to lead. So whenever I'm in a room, I think a good leader is someone who actually hears everyone out, actually makes everyone feel seen, feel welcomed, so that they feel comfortable. Because if everyone is on the right page, or if everyone is being carried along, the overall output is much higher than only a few of them being empowered or being out there and putting in the efforts. As someone who had just started out, like saying with that follower sort of a role, that transition was like a big one, but not as much, simply because in my school I was a captain. I've always been the monitor, so I've always been that like annoying class monitor, but also not. I was like, I think I was a good one. But yeah, I've always taken a leadership role wherever I've been. So for me, it has always been around making people feel seen, people feeling welcomed, and it's all for the good. It's not that an organization or a community or a club has to run by a person, but it should be able to run itself. And that is what I believe in, like setting up systems, setting up processes, setting up ways so that if the next leader comes in, or if the next person takes it forward, they're able to take it. They do not have to rely on a person to run it. Rather, they should rely on the organization itself.
Right.
And that is what I think drives.
So, like you're super young at the moment, right? And you're way, way wiser for your age, right? Where'd you learn these leadership skills? Like, did you have somebody you looked up to, maybe your parents or somebody you had in your life, like as a mentor? Where'd you learn that skill?
I think the first would be definitely both my parents. Both my parents have taken leadership roles in different organizations in India, like BNI, which is Business Networking International, or Rotary clubs in Calcutta. Lots of clubs that my parents have taken leadership roles in different organizations, and being surrounded by entrepreneurs, right? Both my parents are co-managers of a business, so I think that has been my number one influence factor. And second is, I just like, apart from brain rot reels on Instagram, I also have a good side where I see a lot of different people talking about certain topics, and that's what makes me curious, and I listen to the whole podcast instead of that particular clip, or read articles, or read more about what's going on. Or if I look up to someone, like you mentioned Simon Sinek, so I've like read some of his articles, I've heard some of his podcasts. The other ones are Sahil Bloom, like that's someone I really look up to. And he has said so many things that still struck with me today. One of which I can probably quickly mention is having your own secret boardroom. So that is something that really stuck out with me, is when you're making decisions, you should have your own secret boardroom. So in a boardroom, you would have all the right people to make that decision, right? So in your boardroom, you would want to have the right people to make a decision based on whatever you're solving. So let's say if I want to make a decision based on career, I should have a boardroom in my mind of the people who can help me drive the decision. If I want to make a decision in finance, like a career in finance, I need to have like someone I know who can mentor me on finance, someone who has been a leader in finance, so I can ask them the question. So having those people for those particular categories is what constitutes that boardroom. And I'm sure you must have also heard about the Lux Surface area.
No, explain.
Have you? Okay, so Sahil Bloom said this one thing that I really loved about the Lux Surface area. So you know how I've kept mentioning, like, showing up for different things, showing up for events, or just be in any room, is because you are trying to increase your Lux Surface area, in the sense that if you want to reach to your goal, the only way you can do is either you're intelligent, you're smart, you're hardworking, or you're lucky, right? Because not everything is about hard work. Sometimes there is a factor of luck in
Right.
every success that takes place.
Right.
So showing up to these events or showing up in general is a way you're increasing that luck surface area.
You're creating your own luck, basically.
Yeah, you're creating your own luck because you're showing up to these places that can lead up to your path or lead up to the next best person you can work with or next best person you look up to. So that is something that still struck with me, and that is, I think, one of the reasons that sort of drives me to be out there, to do what I am doing,
Right.
because of that luck surface area, because you're increasing that surface for yourself.
Right.
To make it simpler, I can also give you an example. So let's say you have two options. Either you can sit at home, watch Netflix, or you have an option to go out and I don't want to give a particular example, but let's say there's a Skype hangout or like any other networking, just a hangout or something.
Right.
So when you're sitting at home and watch, I'm not saying that, I'm not leading to like always being out there because it might lead to burnout. But if I were to have an option like this in my early years, I would probably choose that networking event over watching Netflix.
Right.
If I'm not feeling tired. If I'm feeling tired, definitely choose your life. Health always comes first. But overall, I would choose the networking event because it's leading me to the next right person. It's leading me to my luck. It's leading to my goal. Because
Right.
you don't know what your conversations or your future right rooms might lead up to. And that one hangout session has so much more better, like thinking of opportunity costs and trade-offs, right? That hangout session or that event might lead you to the next cold email, might save you a job application because you might just meet the right person, you click, you get the
Right.
right job. You're getting closer to your dream job, or you're getting closer to your dream opportunity just by increasing that luck surface area, by showing up.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because we both relate to this a lot. So honestly, like this podcast started because we went out and networked with people. So how we met Mike Tate is very interesting.
Shout out Mike Tate.
Shout out Mike Tate. So we went to this business event. It was called Cocktails and Connections.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they still have it.
No, that was in 2021.
2021,
Yeah.
right? So
Way
we went to that Cocktails and Connections. Pranav, shout out to Pranav. He asked me, "Hey, do you want to go to this event? It's pretty cool."
I used to, I don't want to say volunteer. I was part of
BSS?
Business Student Society back
okay.
then.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that was like my first gig into being part of a club.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to OBSS.
Yeah. So
Oh
he,
yeah, like BSS, JDC West, like such good connections.
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Great
definitely,
opportunities.
If you are someone, I am a part of JDC West, and
I was
like I'm
too.
still so,
Job. I
I'm
wasn't.
so grateful to be part of such an amazing community who has built such amazing relationships. So definitely, but
right.
go on.
Yeah, no, for sure. So we went to the Cocktails and Connections event, and we saw this guy who was wearing a really nice piece of suit, and he was wearing Jordans. Right, and we thought that's so freaking interesting because everybody is like, formals with formal shoes, with that tag over there, and we just thought, man, this guy's so authentic. Let's go and go up to him and talk to him, right? And we connected him as a person, not as somebody who's CEO of EDR, right? And we talked to him, told him about we're starting this podcast, blah blah blah. He asked us some questions. Later on, we found out, he's the CEO of EDR
No,
or
no.
He was not
president.
the CEO.
He was working at EDR.
He's
was
working at
working
EDR.
at
Sorry, right? And after that, I think couple months later, we sent him a message that, hey, Mike, I don't know if you remember us, but we chatted up at the Cocktails and Connections event, right? And we thought he won't remember us, right? Because he must have talked to so many people. And he was so nice. He's like, oh, I do remember you guys. You guys were like so authentic. It was so nice to chat with you guys. And we reached out to him. We had this meeting up at Pathco Works. We did like pre-podcast meeting, and then we shot a podcast with him. So we really relate to that.
Yeah.
This podcast is possible because of those networking opportunities we had.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like it's like a butterfly effect.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
like
yeah.
A flap of wing leads to like a tornado or something. Apparently, that's the
Yeah.
logic behind everything.
Yeah.
But no, 100%. I feel like that goes into like any aspect of your life,
Definitely,
right? Like
definitely.
sure, like it might not lead to a job. What if it leads to a good friendship?
Oh yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah,
like,
like-
just leads you to the next best person you would want to have in your life, right?
Exactly.
Again, like that's what I think people make a mistake is like everything doesn't have to be about your job, or that everything doesn't have to be about your profession. That's why
Right.
it shows up in the conversation, because every time you bring up, every time you're talking, you're like, oh yeah, I need to build a relationship with this person, because when I do apply for a job, okay, this person
very
that's
transactional.
not how it works.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't have good relationships based on that sort of like mindset of having just solely based on transactions.
Right.
And it's going to sound harsh for some people, but I mean, wish I gave a fuck. But to be honest, like the people who actually do that stuff is like they only approach leaders to like get a job or something. Dude, sorry to say, but you're the most replaceable people out there. Because sure, like you might be academically inclined. Well, why is the honors list full of 15 to 20 people? That means there's 15 other yous out there. If you're only like networking just based on like, hey, I want to get a job, you got the job.
Now what?
I mean, there could be a layoff, or you could easily get replaced by somebody if you got like a 95%. Somebody with a 99% comes in, might have a better idea. Well, then you're out of the job now. Now what happens? So you worked so hard, you were basically like just, following people around just to like get that position instead of being your authentic self and genuinely getting to know the person. I really think that if you, first of all, like of course have like authentic conversations, don't look at like the labels that people carry, because first of all it shows, and people can easily catch on to that if I didn't have that CEO next to my name, or if I didn't have that partner next to my name, this kid wouldn't be talking to me. And secondly, to genuinely stand out, like you need to be, like you mentioned, like you need to be curious, presenting ideas, genuinely like wanting to like provide value rather than just like ask and take from other people. I don't know, that's just my take on it.
No, definitely. Like, again, like goes back to everything, right? Like you can't teach genuinity. Like that has to come from within.
Within 100%.
Yeah, and also like when you need to have those intentional coffee chats based on the situation, right? If you are, let's say, applying for a job and you're just intentionally connected to that person because of that job, then yeah, it makes sense, right? Like you're having conversation based on those skills and everything, but the deciding factor is not just how you apply that conversation, it's also how you actually connect to the person. Do you actually connect to the values of, let's say, the company?
Yeah,
digital
exactly.
jobs, right?
I think like the first thing comes is like connecting with them on a human level, and then basically like maybe not even in the first meeting, maybe
Yeah.
the second or third link.
Yeah.
Then that's when you like introduce that.
Yes.
Because the thing is like, if you, how do I say it? Like if you bombard them with like your intentions right off the bat, I think like 10 other people did that. So like like I'm not saying like be fake as to like, hey, let me be like a bit more human with him so I could get the job later. But I still think like the first step is always like building that human connection.
100%.
And once you get to know that person, then yeah, like there's no harm in like, like of course you want to build your own career. That's how they did it. So they would understand that, okay, like, he's genuinely like interested in this role, or he's genuinely interested in this company.
Yeah.
And he fits the right criteria, his personality, academics, careers, his mindset and everything. But I feel like bombarding them can always like backfire. Yeah.
Definitely.
And people can catch up to your intentions. Like people aren't stupid, like if you fake something, I get that idea of fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But there's some things you're better off not faking. Being genuine, that's something you shouldn't fake.
Yeah.
You can try
100%.
faking it, but people catch up to it and you won't stand out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's this book, it's called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Dale Carnegie, right? He wrote this whole like big ass book. It's not huge actually, but very old book. The principles still apply. The whole gist of that book is be genuine. That's it. That's all he said. He gives you techniques that, you should use their name more often because that sounds that's like the sweetest sound for a person. But at the end he writes, forget everything and just be genuine.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right? I want to come back to like
Yeah.
what you said about listening to leaders, reading articles. So do you have any advice for us, like any people that we should look up, like somebody who's a good leader that we should start reading about?
I have so many in my head, but in particular, I'm really interested in venture capital right now. So I'm like just reading a lot about how the ecosystem looks like over the world, and like just I think in India in general. There's one person I read a lot of her articles. Her name is Harneet Kaur. I like her stuff, and if you're like talking about other podcasts and everything, there's one like I like is Indian Silicon Valley. If you have not checked it out yet, but other leaders, I think all leaders have something really valuable to offer. Would just depend on the industry or something specific you want. I think you have all the good names already. Like, so if you want like all the flourished ones out there are like Simon Sinek, Sahil Bloom. I like Sahil Bloom. If you are interested in neuroscience, something that I haven't touched on yet is Dr. Huberman.
Oh yeah, Pranav loves talking.
Yeah, Andrew Huberman is like one of my, I think, top 3 podcasts that I listen to.
Yeah. But I don't think I have any particular leader in mind as such that you can probably read more about. But definitely like newsletters and podcasts is like a big influence on me where I get all my information.
Okay, let me make it easy for you then. Let's bring it to a smaller scale.
Okay.
Who has inspired you the most in Regina to
In
become
Regina.
the Paul in front of us? Because like you've been
Yeah.
basically ingrained in like every leadership possibility, like events around like leaders itself. Who has inspired you the most?
I think in Regina, I mean, I have over the time really spent a lot of time working with Josh. So he's like one of
Shout out to Josh.
my biggest.
Tell us a bit more about him.
Josh?
Yeah,
Oh,
like why, how,
Why him?
everything. Yeah.
So I actually got to know Josh more just through Good Morning Project and like working with him when he just like reached out to me one day saying, hey, I'm working on this cool project. I need some Pearl energy on it.
Oh,
and
nice.
I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I'd love to come hear you out and like started working on this and like making things happen. Why he inspires me is like, even on the toughest days and when things are like not working out, he's like so calm. I think that is what really, like, as I can see his calendar and like I know how busy he is and like how much chaos goes on to his life, but he's still like somehow being able to manage it all. He's somehow being able to show up at the right place at the right time. Like sometimes I'm late. He's someone out there like at the right time for everything. So I think that inspired me a lot. I think Regina 25 also has like a group of like 25 people, right? I think that also like brings out the best out there. Like so many leaders out there, like Miriam Johnson, our previous dean Gina Grandi, Erin Alford right now. Great leaders. I think Hill Business community itself is like a biggest influence because I constantly keep seeing so many people.
Right.
Bruce Anderson, I love Bruce.
Oh yeah, we had Bruce on the podcast.
I have never had Bruce as a professor, but like definitely he's such an amazing person. He gives such great advice, and he's actually someone I connected with 3 years ago when I was not even in the business school. I wanted to start a consulting club, not JDC West, like just consulting club that does consulting projects as students.
Did that happen yet or no?
No. I just like got involved in everything, so I did not end up.
Would you start that? Do you have capacity to like make that happen?
Not anymore. No,
Mhm.
I think we already have a good amount of things going on.
No,
Right.
fair enough. Yeah.
So maybe not. But yeah, definitely like sometime in the future, yes, I could explore that. So maybe.
So what's the commonality between like all these names that you mentioned? Because you mentioned like Josh is calm, he's collected, he's
Yeah.
grounded.
Mhm.
Then you mentioned Bruce Anderson, Gina Grandi, Erin
I
Alford.
think goes back to the same thing I mentioned is empathy.
Mhm.
I think they all are so genuine
Right.
about giving you the right opportunity, giving you the right advice, and like just really wanting you to succeed and not just care, but like they genuinely care about your success, because
Right.
as Josh says, like your success means my success,
Right.
sort of a thing, right?
That's awesome.
I really like
Yeah.
I really like that sort of a leadership and environment where people really want you to succeed.
Mhm.
And it's also very easy to spot on who actually means well for you and who doesn't.
Right.
So
Simon Sinek has this amazing quote where he says that as a leader, you're not responsible for the customers, you're responsible for the people who are responsible for the customers. So like your job is to inspire the people around you, right? So yeah, Paul. So before we go towards the end of the podcast, I want to ask you this. So you've been involved in so many communities. You're making such a big impact. You'll soon be graduating from the university.
Yeah.
What's next for Paul?
What's the next for Pearl? That's a great question. I think it's a dire question for so many out there. So I am currently working with Josh at TandemX Visuals, and I'm gonna continue working there full time, doing strategy, operations, helping TandemX scale, doing other cooler things, helping Good Morning Project scale. So that's the next one for me after my university, after I graduate.
When you say scale, and that's a pretty huge aspect, you know, like taking one thing at ground zero to like another place. How do you do that? Like, how does scaling work? Let's talk more about that. Like,
How
I'm
does
curious.
scaling work?
Yeah.
I think so. Scaling so I have always worked in bigger organizations. Like I've worked at Cultivator, I've worked at TD Asset Management, FCC, government, right? So I've always been used to systems and processes given to me already. But scaling in general just means how you're making what you already have. So it's not at ground zero exactly. When you're ready for scaling, it just means you're probably at 1x, 2x, and you want to make it 4x or 10x. So scaling, I have not yet mastered scaling yet because it's in the process of it. Scaling, I think, to me essentially just means what you're doing right now, just 10x it. Have certain tactics in place that can 10x itself when you're sleeping. Same with like how it goes to investing, right? Like you would want to have money when you're sleeping.
Right.
You're scaling your money. So I think scaling also widens out in the organization itself is you want to have processes and things in place that can automate itself while you're focusing on the other things.
So when you say 10x, do you mean do more volume, or do you mean that
10x
find a system
output.
that'll 10x the output?
10x is the output.
Okay. How do you do that though?
How would you do that? We'll find out. But essentially, I think 10x output would probably mean you would want to find the right input. You would want to focus on your niche. You would want to focus on, I think, the things that can lead to 10x. So 10x essentially doesn't mean that you put 10x and it leads to 10x. It can just have 5 inputs and each of these inputs can have 2x in it. So finding the right people, finding the right niche that can result or output a 10x.
How do you do the research for this stuff?
Would you want me to talk about this specifically to work or just in general?
I feel like just give like a general idea, because like I feel like work would be like specific to you, but just from like a viewer standpoint, like a listener standpoint, because the thing is like when you're talking about scaling, right, that can really help you in your personal life as well, just your personal growth as well. So let's talk about from a general standpoint. What are inputs? What's the research? How do you make it happen?
And I think this would be advice for like us too, because we
Oh,
want to
100%,
scale too,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So we
yeah.
want
I
to
was
learn
being
from
subtle
you.
about it. This guy just blatantly
Yeah,
said
yeah, 100%. Be
I
honest.
I think really, I'm a big Chat GPT fan.
There we go.
and
Shout out to ChatGPT.
Shout out to Sam Altman.
But I think I use that a lot for like feedback and knowing what's going on. But essentially, like research involves finding the right people that have worked for you and actually seeing who are the people that they connect with. So let's say, for example, let's take me. You can use me as your bait. Let's say to research about your podcast and guests, you can look at maybe my connections and see the next person you want to talk to, and I could do a warm intro there, right? So it's not about here you're not doing 10x, but you're going through 5x who have 2x. So let's say you find the 5 people you want who have maybe you have interviewed, and they could each introduce you to 2 guests. So that's 10x already. So you have single-handedly got 10 people just by reaching out to 5 instead of reaching out to 10. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So having research just involves, I think, finding the right content, finding the right resource. Even when we talk about research about scaling in your personal life with your skills, what works for you, what doesn't, you need to find the right books. You need to find the right influence. You need to find the right person you look up to. Like I really look up to in general, like when it comes to leadership and women, going back, I look up to the ex-CEO of Pepsi. She was the first Indian
Indra Nooyi.
Indra Nooyi. She's the first Indian American woman to become a CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
That's someone I want to be. I want to one day be a CEO of a Fortune 500.
You will be.
So she is someone who like so truly talks about all the things that I relate to. Like there's no juggling. There's no work-life balance. It's all about showing up and just managing as you go. So going back to that question about influence, I think I would mention her as a big one, because I think she inspires me to become that leader, that person who just like came in and changed the future of, like in her example, Pepsi.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
And before we move on to the final segment of our rapid fire question, I just want to give a big shout out to you, first of all. Congratulations for being part of that Regina 25
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
Thank
again,
you.
like just for like our viewers and listeners, why don't we just talk about that briefly? And like, how did you get involved? How did you become the final contestant? What is that about? Because we really have to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
And sorry, do you also want to tell like a brief intro about what Regina 25 is for our viewers?
So the Regina 25 is just an initiative started this year in 2025 by Economic Development Regina, where they basically had 5 categories, and each category had 5 people. Different categories like grassroots. I was in the quick study, some mentors, people who have changed things. So how I got in, so like basically Regina 25 was just identifying those 25 people in those categories who have really made a mark in the community. How I got involved, I think, so a lot of people nominated me for that award. I don't want to name all of them, but yeah, definitely some of my personal cheerleaders who sent a nomination form, sent out reference letters to say that, okay, Pal should be one of the Regina 25 winners.
That's awesome.
So I think that's how the nomination worked. And like when they selected, they had like a committee outside, and they select the winners based on the application and any other references that they get. That's how I got selected in the quick study category.
Just to put things in perspective, Regina's population is 300,000, if I'm not wrong.
250,000.
250,000, 3,000, right? And Pal is one of 25 people out of those who's making an impact. So like kudos, like big shout out to you.
Thank you.
Right. So Pal, we move on to our final segment of the podcast. So Pranav's gonna ask you 3 questions. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions.
So have to like answer like
Yeah,
this.
You have to answer
It's
in
up
one
to you.
word, one sentence.
Okay.
You know, just like coffee with Karan.
Okay, I knew it. I was like, when you told me about rapid fire, like that is.
Yeah, we're not gonna ask
But we don't-
scandal questions though.
But sorry, we don't have a hamper at the end.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
Pranav, you
awesome.
wanna start?
Sure. What's one dream that you want to achieve in this lifetime of yours?
Have a very happy family and a very rich life.
Rich in the sense.
Rich in the sense of like wealth, definitely,
Yeah.
but experiences, travel, and like having a very, very happy life with like my partner. I want to have a dog. Definitely
Yeah.
want to have a dog
There you
one
go.
day. Like kids, like so just having a very well-rounded life.
You like
is
kids?
Definitely want to have. Sorry?
Do you like kids?
Oh yeah, I want to
That's
have 2
awesome.
of them.
There we go. That's
There
awesome.
you go. Be ready, Shivam. How do you want to be remembered?
Someone who made me feel noticed. I think I want to be remembered as, oh yeah, she really made me feel seen. She made me smile. She made me feel noticed.
What's something that you're really, really grateful for in your life?
As much as I don't talk much about it, I think my parents and the life they gave me. I used to cry and whine about it a lot, but I can see how it has helped me become who I am. So definitely my parents and the life that they gave me.
Why crying and whining?
Oh, because, well, I have been like surrounded by my friends from India who have gone on to big Ivy League. So like I have friends in Stanford, Harvard, and like
Oh,
Oh
damn.
shit! What?
so So I have had that circle of friends, right? So I always like, oh shit, I couldn't go there, oh I couldn't make it, or something about it, or growing up I did not have this, I did not have that. So I think crying and whining about that, and also like here, oh I'm crying and whining about, oh I don't have this, I don't have that. So but I'm so grateful that my parents actually believed in me. Parents who were skeptical about sending me from Calcutta to Delhi sent me from Calcutta to Canada. I think
That's awesome.
kudos to them, I guess.
100%.
I think it takes a lot of courage.
Oh
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
I think
Yeah, especially your own child, right? Like,
yeah, I'm also
yeah.
the firstborn.
yeah, because
Yeah.
you have a younger sister.
Yes,
right?
I'm a younger sister. So I have a younger sister, and I'm the firstborn. I'm the project.
There we go.
The project.
The guinea.
So your younger sister, she's in India?
Yeah, she's in India. She's in her grade 10, so she's like taking her boards
Oh, okay.
now.
No, still
Okay.
still got some time until
Yeah,
she
yeah.
comes to big sister over here.
Yeah, she doesn't want to come.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
She wants to write her own story and like wants to go to the
Yeah.
next.
The
place.
entire family's full of creative people. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
No.
Okay.
she-
So this is one of our golden questions
Oh,
in rapid
another
fire
one,
round,
okay.
right? And I
I
want
wanna
you to
hear
think
it.
about it,
Okay, I'll think about it. Okay.
right? What is your favorite restaurant in Regina?
And that's your golden question.
Yes.
For him, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay. Wow. What's my favorite restaurant in Regina? Can I have two or just one?
Let's go for two.
Let's go for two.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
go
we
for
need
it.
suggestions.
I like Blanco's. That's one of my favorite. I
tacos?
like
Taco
go-to.
Tuesday.
Tacos, and also like I like their cauliflower wrap.
Okay.
And they have very good nachos. So if you want to have like the best nachos, Blanco's has the best
really?
nachos. Yes, I
Cool.
really like their nachos.
Awesome.
The next is probably Olive Garden.
Oh my god.
Dude, I love Olive Garden.
This
It's
fucking
so
guy.
underrated.
I love
He's
Olive
been on
Garden.
my ass for the past 2 weeks. He's
It's
like,
so
bro, when are we going?
underrated.
When are we going? I'm like, I don't want to.
Olive Garden is, I think maybe now I have a very personal connection to Olive Garden because Shivam and I always like go to Olive Garden there for like if we can't decide where to go, Olive Garden is like our go-to place.
Hey, quick side
What-
note. Quick side note. Like, how did you guys meet? Like,
Oh, how did I
yeah,
meet
yeah,
Shivam?
like, you know, like, and you guys, you're together now. So, like,
Yeah.
how did you meet? How did you, like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's try
I
this
think
out.
I have to here give a personal shout out to my best friend Yash.
Okay.
So Yash was the one who told me about Shivam's existence.
Oh my
Existence.
god!
Wow.
Yeah. There's this one guy. He's out there somewhere.
No. Shivam just like told Yash just told me that I think we were just like talking about both Yash and I Yash wasn't single. I was single at that time, and I was like, Yash, what? You're a guy. Like, come on, introduce me to some friends, right? Like, I have introduced you to so many people, right? I haven't, maybe just one, but one or two. So he then told me, oh, Pal, you should like. There's this guy Shivam, and I'm like, I have seen him. Like, I have definitely seen him. Like, maybe a couple of times, and when we now talk about it, we actually were in the same math class 3 years ago.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and he was telling me that how I was that annoying first bencher, always asking questions. Like, I think that's wrong, professor. I think that's wrong. So, and we are in like the same second degree. I'm bringing that LinkedIn reference, but you have first degree social circle and that second degree social circle.
I
Like
don't
What is that?
expanded-
I don't know
means
what that
I
is.
No,
have no
like
idea what that is.
your closer friend circle and that extended friend circle.
Like acquaintances.
No, like let's say you two are best friends, but anyone beyond this would be like your second degree social
Like the
circle.
person I know.
Yeah,
and
the
that
person
Nikhil
you
probably
know,
doesn't.
person-
Okay,
yes.
okay, fair enough.
So
Okay.
it's a
Damn.
second degree friend circle. So he was in my second degree friend circle,
Hmm.
basically, like extended friend circle. So I was like, oh yeah, I've seen him, and then I just followed him on Instagram, and I was like, we'll see. We were somehow connected on LinkedIn already.
I think everybody is for some reason. I don't even know the people that I'm connected to.
But so and then he put up a story somewhere of him camping, and it was a very nice, like he took a very good capture of the Milky Way, and
Wow.
so I responded to him like, oh, where is this? And then
It's littered in his DMs.
rest is history.
Oh,
That's
damn.
awesome.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's a
how I
good
met
story.
him, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I met. Like, I just like I like. So I've not seen a lot of like South Asians go for camping. Like, I know a lot of friends who love camping and that kind of thing, but
Mhm.
so he was out there like camping and taking pictures. I'm like,
Right.
woohoo, adventure. So I just like saw that story and I just like responded that, hey, where's his place? And then we just like started talking and never stopped.
What clicked for you guys to like actually make it official?
What clicked? We are.
Like, what's something about him that you're like, you know what, like, this is the guy that, you know, like, I actually want to be with?
And sorry, where is he from?
He's from Gujarat.
Oh,
Okay.
cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we are like the two opposite sides of the same coin kind
Right.
of a thing.
Right.
Want the same thing, but we just have a different approach to doing it. I am like a very extrovert, energetic, like
Yeah.
chaotic. He's like calm, collected, cool person
Okay.
who's going to be like, this is too much. Let's have a much more strategic way. And he's also like an engineer, so I really look up to his analytical and more intelligent ways of doing it versus me like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I think we just clicked on that understanding and that level of clarity. Like he's someone I can talk to because he's level-headed. Even at the toughest.
He's what? Sorry.
Level-headed.
What does that mean?
Like of the same level, you can talk to this person. Like, you know,
Okay.
sometimes people are so immature that do not even
Yeah, you don't click
hear
with them.
someone out. He's like someone I can be like, you suck. I can tell him you suck. Or he can tell me I suck. But I know it's coming from a place of
Care.
genuinity, and it means because we're on the same level of clarity
Right.
and same level of maturity. I would say he's more mature than I am. So I think that clicked for us. And we're like, oh, this works. Great. Yin and yang.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you seen How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, my favorite.
There's this theory in How I Met Your Mother, the olive theory.
Yeah,
that
I
one
don't
person-
like olives. He likes olives.
He likes olives. There we
Yeah.
go.
Even I had told him about this. Like, I think we were at Blanco's having it. He's like, do you know about this olive theory that exists? And I was like, wow, this really makes sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My last question?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, love that story, by the way.
Thank you.
And so my last question. What's something that you didn't value before, but now you really do?
What's something I didn't value before?
But now you do.
Health. I think health and
Wha-
fitness.
What are you doing about it?
I'm not doing anything about
Wow,
it. I just know
what
that-
a concern. Say, I value it. I haven't done anything though.
I value it enough to know that I should be doing something about it.
It doesn't fucking change anything, but what do you do for it? Like, what do you want to do, let's say?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when I say about, I think health and fitness, I think it just talk about just daily movement. I think it just starts from there. I'm someone who likes to just sit at one spot, work on my desk, right? I don't do any kind of exercise. But over this 1 year, even if it's as often as just once a week or once in 2 weeks or whatever, much better than what it was before though. Don't give me that judgy looks, right?
Hey, I'm just listening here.
So has made a difference, right? Because it really has helped me become more active. It has made me realize that, oh, when I actually play a game, it really makes me feel good. It really makes me feel like I want to do something out there, and I feel more energized to do my work, or I feel more energized. So it's like a catalyst for productivity, I would say.
Right.
I think
So
yeah,
that's
100%
why
is.
I think that's why I value it. I don't think I still value it enough, but I would love to value fitness.
Hey, the intention's there. The intention is there.
Oh, we'll start somewhere.
See the vision.
Yeah, that's true. There we go.
See the vision.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is one rule that you could make that everybody in this world had to follow?
One rule that everyone has to follow.
Yes.
Is it like, are we being serious about it? Or
Anything.
Like,
Anything.
I think one rule I would love to explore is never lie. It would be so chaotic. I think that the world would be so much more chaotic than what it is today if people just stopped lying.
You know, there's like some people who want to watch the world burn. She's like one of those people.
No, I'm someone who believes in better an oops than a what if. I would rather
Okay.
make a mistake than think what if.
Right.
And I think that stems from me wanting to have more chaos in life. I think that's why I would be like,
Interesting.
let's see how the world would look like if
Nobody
there was
lied.
a rule of making nobody lies.
It would be hard to get girls though then.
Oh my god.
I don't think so. No. Would you even want to have someone who would fall for your lies?
I feel like
I feel like white lies are still important.
No. White lies is fine.
But
I'm
it's
just
still a
saying,
lie though. It's still,
Yeah.
like you said, like no lies.
No, I'm saying in this world, white lie is fine, but the
Okay.
world that I want, no lies, and I want to see how that pans out.
I feel like, this is something that I saw on Veer Das's video. He said that you should be able to tell beautiful lies. Tell a lie that doesn't hurt anybody, right? If I lie about something that doesn't hurt anybody, but it adds to the society, I think that's a beautiful lie.
I would love to hear an example about it.
Harry Potter. That's like, I know fiction is a lie too, right? So kids get
Is it
lied
a lie
to all
or
the
is
time.
it just like a facade?
Aren't they
Is it the same
Aren't they
thing?
like synonyms though?
Lie is like you're.
So you lie to your kids every day. Tooth fairy is a lie. Santa is a lie. But those are beautiful
He's breaking
lies.
hearts out there. Once this goes live, everybody's gonna hate us.
Well, no 8-year-old is listening to our podcast.
But their kids are. Somebody's gonna be mad.
Right. But these are beautiful lies, right? So I don't know. Like,
I
I'm a
like
huge
that.
believer in fiction.
I stopped reading fiction when I was 14.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn, bro. I still read fiction.
No, I need to start reading it back because too much honest now. I think I want some
Too much, huh?
too much. I want too much. It's too much honesty and too much life. I think fiction is like such a way to be more creative and
100%.
live that more comfort fantasy world where you can actually
Expand your imagination as well.
yeah
Like,
yeah
because you start putting yourself in, like, of course, like, it sounds funny, but like, you put yourself in that Harry Potter's shoes or something, or you put yourself in that fantasy world. It just opens up your own imagination.
Yeah.
I feel like.
yeah
Do you know, like, there's this book called Sapiens by Yuval Noah
Uh-huh.
Harari, and he talks about this idea that humans evolved through fiction, right? Religion is fiction. Bold statement, but a lot of things are fiction, right? So you look at a company, take ChatGPT. Of course, there's a physical product or a software that's, ChatGPT. But as a company is a fiction. You can't touch ChatGPT.
yeah
Right? So we evolve through fiction. So I think it's really important in our lives.
chat, is this real?
Chat.
It's all a simulation, guys.
Anyways, Paul, before we end our podcast,
Uh-huh.
any final piece of advice for our viewers out there?
Viewers, I think just be genuine, show up, truly do some things that you've never done before. Constantly keep putting yourself out there, show up, go help out a friend if they need help moving. I would need one soon, so if you're watching, keep
I
in
got
mind.
Yeah.
No, I think just be kind. I think kindness is probably like the bravest thing you can do. So I think that would be my final piece.
That's awesome.
Be kind.
Paul, it's been an amazing conversation. It's been an
Yeah.
honor. We are really, really excited for everything that's supposed to come to you.
Aw, thank you.
And-
You guys too.
No, trust me. But like, there's some big things happening for you, and we're not saying that just because you're our guest. You radiate that stuff, and it's like a circle. Whatever you give is gonna come back to you. So we're really excited about everything that you're gonna achieve,
Yes.
and thank you so much for being on A Little Perspective.
Thank you so much for having me.